Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks everybody again for being here. Just very brief word of introduction. I think most people on the call are either using Renku already or are familiar with our story, but just as a matter of setting the context. So Renku is a platform that we're building here at the SDSC to have a digital place that connects all the different aspects of data science and machine learning projects. So that's data, code, compute, and we want to do this in a way that empowers researchers to actually build collaborations around these different elements. Can you go next slide?
Yes.
And this, of course, materializes in the way that we have designed Renku. The new Renku that's been now running for just about a year. And so it's really focused on connections. So this is very clear to see on the project page where you can connect different data sources from just about anywhere you can imagine, and we'll get into some of the new features there in a few minutes. But it's really a vast array of sources from places that host published data like Zenodo, Dataverse, etc., to places that you might have for active data like S3 buckets or even local file shares, and obviously to the cloud storages. So that's a really kind of a very heterogeneous array of options there. We also provide easy access or easy integrations with code repositories so that all your access to code is just sort of done for you in the background. You don't have to worry about keys or tokens or anything like this. And this all comes together in the compute sessions where we spent a lot of effort building up the functionalities to really create environments where all the requirements of the project are satisfied, and they're the same for everybody that will use the project. So this is our build from code features, which also received an update that we'll talk about today. And one important thing that has really happened over the last year more seriously is this idea that also compute should be possible to use compute from different sources as well, not just data and code, but also the compute should be accessible from other providers. So, for example, whether that's compute sessions at CSCS or compute sessions in another cloud provider like Amazon, Renku should be able to connect users to those environments, to those infrastructures, but offer the same kind of familiar interface without having to expose a lot of details about what the infrastructure is actually doing. Yeah, so I think on that front, we have made quite a lot of progress, and we'll talk about that also a little bit later on. Can I hand back over to Elizabeth?
Thank you. So yeah, one of the most, or the core, where we place the focus is about collaboration and sharing. So that's one of the most important features that we always have in our part. And this being said, I would like to share with you which are the features we will be demoing today. So for many of them, we will be going between the presentation and we will do some live tours in Renku so that you see how it looks like. We will follow the order on the data. So we will see about the integration with Google Drive and Dropbox, how to publish data to Zenodo, link more easy the data connectors from the project page. We will also have some showcase about the collaboration, how does the group search work. We will also talk about improved resource pool management. And on the compute side, we will go deeper on how to set up Renku with CSCS. One of our latest features, the Renku Jobs, how to create private compute environments from private code repositories, and the access to private external compute So as Rob was mentioning, also to be able to connect to the infrastructure that the users bring. So let's start with more data connectors. As you have seen in the previous slide, where we had like the project page and all the available set of data connectors, there is already a wide variety of options nowadays, including research archives such as Zenodo, Envidat, and OpenBiz, as cloud storage systems. So WebDAV technologies have already been supported since a long time. There is also Azure Blob Storage, S3 buckets, and one of the latest additions are Google Drive and Dropbox. They have been enabled because part of our backend, there was a heavy development on the backend to be able to connect to this. And I will show you that these two types or this type of data connectors are enabled differently from the regular data connectors. And the other feature around data connectors is being more powerful when you need to reuse existing data connectors. So it's important the reuse, and as we said, the collaboration part is extremely in our core. So let me go to the demo part there. So let me go here. So when we go to your dashboard and you need to add a new data connector, if it is Dropbox or Google Drive, what you need to do, the first thing is you go to integrations, and in the integrations page, you add a new integration, you look for Google Drive and you connect to this one, and it will automatically ask you to connect to choose which account if you have multiple, and then basically in some clicks, the authentication status is complete. So now you can access your Google Drive, and the same will happen with Dropbox. So I will be able to reconnect it. In this case, I will not complete it. I don't have my password at hand, but basically you can see that these two types of data connectors are already doable through the integrations page. And then when you go to the project, to your project page, you simply go there, you create a new data connector. In the drop down, you can see the Google Drive. I have just done it. And it says, yeah, these data connectors uses an integration, which is in green, which means that my Google Drive folder is available, and I can select which source path inside my Google Drive I want to access and connect to my Renku session. While I was doing the showcasing how to connect to Google Drive, you can see that for those of you who have been using Renku intensively, the new link or the new setting of new data connectors, the UI has changed. So we have these two options. Either you can link to an existing data connector, and maybe let me go to, yeah, so here you have some of the most recent connectors that have been used by me or my team. And maybe I can show it better in this is still dev. Let me go to here. So you can see here that the list is quite long, and yeah, you can select. So what we go and propose first is try to reuse. In case you have a DOI, so Zenodo, Dataverse, you can simply copy paste the DOI, and Renku automatically will identify that that's a DOI and will ask you to confirm whether you want to link. And the second option is, as usual, to create the data connector. I have seen a question in the chat regarding OneDrive. I don't know. So this is a question that has been posted already by many users in many forums where we have been. We don't have currently a timeline about when it will be prioritized. We have a very long list of things to do. So yeah, if you have anything that is really urgent for you and your team, please feel free to reach out to us, and and we will add more pressure to when to prioritize this for OneDrive. Yeah, so the other thing related to Zenodo, related to the data connectors, is the possibility to publish into Zenodo. So we make it easier for you to publish to Zenodo, and the feature I will demonstrate today is also extensible to other data catalogs as Envidat. And basically the process is exactly the same. As you saw before in my account, in my integrations page, you see that I have already connected Zenodo, my Zenodo account to my Renku account. So the same way as we do with you do with other Git repositories, you can do the same with Zenodo. Just for you to bear in mind, this feature is already developed. I am showing the development cluster. In production will come very, very soon. That's why we say it's coming soon. And basically, we first of all need to have our Zenodo account connected. And you can see here I have already one of my data connectors of this project I have already published. So what you need to do is you go to one of your data connectors where the data that you want to publish is available, and you just need to click on the drop down next to edit and export the data. You need to provide the name of how you want this data set to be published in Zenodo, and you can write the path. If you have multiple folders inside this data connector, which is the exact path to where the archives that you want files are located. As of now, we have just Zenodo enabled in the UI, and then you would click on Start Data Export. In this case, the upload is already completed. So when I click here and on the data connector and I drop, I scroll down, I go to the data export. It is the name of the name I gave, and I can really click. And for you to align on expectations, basically what Renku does for you, it opens a new request of creating data record in Zenodo. You see all the files that were uploaded there. And basically there is you need to complete manually all the other processes. So you need to fill in about the authors and all other metadata that may be relevant for your data set. Yeah. So that's why it says coming soon. You will see those elements published or available very soon. It's already developed. It's something that is already there. Another feature that if you recall, if you joined us last year, one of the features we were exposing and we were presenting that would be coming soon back 1 year ago is about the group pages. So we have done a complete redesign of the group pages so that it is easier for research lab managers, for research teams, even for teachers who have multiple projects and want to manage a group. So it's much easier to access who has contributed to your group page, on which projects of the data connectors are used. So let me go very quickly to my page. Let me close the things that I don't need here. So if I go to the dashboard, I can see all my groups. I go to the Swiss data science group, and you start with the info about all the membership, how many projects are there, and data about available data connectors. And of course, here you see on the one side how many you can filter on data and projects, on group members, on keywords, about the visibility of the project, creation date. So it's much easier and more convenient for keeping track of what's being developed inside the team. And you can also do some search. So we also support It's an improvement and a feature we have also improved along this year about the search. You can either search on your group page, especially relevant when it populates, or you can search along all the Renku public projects. So you can, for example, say either filter through the keywords or visibility, or if you know, for example, the keywords that the keywords that we are using for this rich syntax, for example, RNA, we can see immediately all the projects and data sets that include RNA on the title. For this, let me go here. As this rich in syntax, basically what it gives you in our documentation page gives you the hints about the fields, the entities, how to construct improved queries for taking the most of this engine part of in Renku. So yes, a bit. These are like the two features related more to collaboration, finding things faster, and being able to access the group pages. So with this, I will go with the. We started more about the compute part. As of today, whenever you have what we suggest, so we want you to be as smooth as possible. We don't want users who do not need to have software engineering skills to be exposed to the Docker technology. That is the technology behind the scenes. So that's why we heavily suggest our users to use the build from code. So you just need to specify which is your environmental YAML or your project YAML or your requirements TXT or the equivalent for R. And basically, Renku will build the container, the image for you based on those requirements and the UI that you select. One of the requests for many of our users has been, okay, what happens? So this feature was only working for public code repositories. What is coming really soon and has been recently developed is being able to build these images from private code repositories. So the workflow is exactly the same as works for public code repositories. And the only thing that will appear whenever you select a private code repository is a warning telling you that only the users who have read access to the code repository will be able to launch the session. So this is an important limitation, but also guarantees that you have the privacy that you wish as well for your images and for the work that you have in Renku. Again, this is coming really soon. We have it already in dev. We have, I have here an example. This is, as you see, this is a private code repository. I have written write access, but this, if we go to my GitHub account, you will see that it is a private code repository. Where do I see it? Oh, I left the name. Yes, it's private. Yeah, there it's stated it's private, but when I go here, I can select it. So you see, I can do the selection, which if you go to the current public version of Renku, it's still not available. It will be in the upcoming releases that will be in the upcoming weeks. This feature will be already available, so you will be able to build images from private code repositories. The other feature we have is about the Renku Jobs. Shall you continue?
Sure. So this is also something that has been really often asked about, and we finally managed to make headway on this. So the idea is that you can, when you work on a data science project, you can explore data and write code and so on interactively in a browser session or VS Code session or whatever. But then at some point, you reach a stage where you just need something to run for a while. And up to now, This was possible to do in the interactive sessions by kind of detaching your terminal and so on and doing various tricks like that. But it wasn't great. It wasn't very well supported. You couldn't have logs and these kinds of things. So we have recently implemented a way to actually run proper non-interactive or asynchronous jobs. This is a very simple feature up to this point. There's no pipelining, there's nothing like that, but simply you can create a launcher that will be a job launcher, which will not have a front end. It will just execute the commands, and then you can set it up with your data connectors and so on the same way that you would your session, so all your results can still go and be saved in a place where you can write data to. And we have a
video
pre-recorded demo.
Yes.
So, do you want to play it with audio or?
Let me see.
I guess we can do that.
Yeah, we can do that. Let me see if they can hear that, because it was.
Maybe make it full screen.
Yeah, but I don't see the voice. Let me see. Let me go there. We cannot.
Okay, I guess there's no audio coming through. So actually, maybe hand it to me so I can pause.
That?
Okay, so I can pause the video.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so here we have this this project setup, as you saw in the screenshot earlier, and you can create a new launcher. You can choose either a session launcher or a job launcher. And here you have the same options as before. You can create from code, or you can create a mix. You can bring your own Docker image. So essentially, if you're used to working with Docker images and you have something working already with your software inside, then you can just bring your own image, and you would set this up exactly the same way as you would on your laptop running with Docker, for example. So you have both of these options. We expect a lot of users will be using create from code. And this is going to work exactly the same as it does for the interactive sessions. The only difference, oops, let me pause here for a second. The only difference here is that you will have to provide a command for this image to actually run when Renku executes it. And again, for those of you who use Docker, this is the same. This is exactly the same separation you would have in your local Docker environment, where on the one hand you have the entry point, on the other hand you have the arguments. So this is exactly the same setup. So you can configure the launcher, and then essentially it ends up being very similar to any other kind of session launcher you've got, except that it will have a slightly different way of actually running. So you see also here that the sessions have a launch button and the jobs have a submit button. And every time you click submit, you're prompted to either keep the same configuration you had by default, or you can actually modify things here. So if you wanted to, for example, add additional parameters or add additional arguments, you can do that here. We have a question here. Yeah, please, you can also just raise your hand and ask live, but I'll answer this one. So is it possible to schedule a job? Yeah, that's one of those, as I mentioned at the beginning, this feature at the moment is very, very simple. We kept it simple on purpose to kind of see what users request, but absolutely, I think, yeah, some cron functionality or some scheduling functionality would be very nice to have. So that's something that we're considering, but is not currently part of the implementation. The demo's over. So, okay. I thought it would show the job running. But essentially, what you get, maybe you can go back one slide. Essentially, what you get when the jobs are either running or completed is what you see here. So you have access to the error logs if there are logs, or you can see how long it's been running for, and watch the logs in real time. Or you can also then see which jobs have completed. And again, you have to make sure, if you want your output, for example, to be saved, you have to attach a data connector which you can write to and make sure that the job does this inside your code. Renku doesn't handle that for you. But yeah, we think this is going to be a really nice addition to the kind of data science flow that you can do on Renku, and it's yeah, I'll mention at the end also what it's related to in the roadmap coming up. So, oh yeah, slide, there we go. Yeah, so this is a feature. So running sessions at CSCS is something that has been requested quite a lot, and it's something that we implement. Yeah, somebody's got a question.
Yeah, the question about the previous.
I'm sure about jobs. Yeah.
But it relates to what you're actually going to talk about. I was wrong. Is this going to be already supported with CSCS, right? Does it mean we can launch jobs with CSCS, with Slurm resources and so on?
We go a bit back and forth on this. I think it would be quite possible for us to support that. On the other hand, we don't really want to be a front end for CSCS in some way. So we want to make sure that the kind of the use case that we have here is really relevant, and will really add value basically beyond what users can get at CSCS anyway. But yeah, it's a very good question, and it's something that we think about, what we have thought about. So one important thing to mention here, actually coming back to your point, Daniele, is that you can modulo the CSCS resource pools. You can use jobs to use resources from any of the resource pools and resource classes that you have configured. So including if you have access to GPUs, for example, use those. But yeah, the CSCS question is a good one, and that may come down the line. Yeah, we'll definitely consider that. Is that something that you would find particularly useful for your?
Yeah, I mean, maybe I should wait for the other topic to comment on that. But for example, interactive sessions, CSCS are at the moment for us are not very. I mean, it's a bit of a waste of resources to have an interactive session on a GPU node.
Yeah.
And so for us, the traditional workflow would just mostly be submitting batch jobs. So that's why I thought it was really interesting that this is coming for us.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, jobs are much simpler than interactive sessions. So I think it wouldn't be a very far stretch for us to support this through also at CSCS. I think it's a much simpler thing to accomplish. Yeah. So yeah, one possible workflow that we had in mind too here is that you could potentially run interactive sessions on quote unquote cheaper cloud compute, and then when you have something that works, you can verify it in an interactive session at CSCS, and then if that's confirmed, then you can actually submit jobs at CSCS through the same workflow. I think that would be a really nice step. So speaking of CSCS, we spent a good chunk of the last year making this connection between Renku and CSCS work, and here I have to really thank also the CSCS team, who were very forthcoming with a lot of changes they had to implement on their side for this to work well. And for the user, it's actually quite simple. Also Salim from EDUP, I don't know if he's online. There he is. He was instrumental in driving some of this forward, so thanks a lot to our friends at EDUP. Basically, all the user has to do is on the same integrations page that Elizabeth showed earlier for data connectors, you have an option to link to your CSCS account. And once you do that, what we have implemented recently is that we simply recognize which resources you have access to, and we make those available in the drop-down for your resources that you can use for your session. And as just mentioned previously, this now works for interactive sessions. You can build your images from code, etc. We built for the ARM architecture as well. So you can actually launch jobs on Daint. As Daniela pointed out, this is quite expensive, right? You get a full node obtained for an interactive session. So I think it's useful to verify that something works interactively so you can actually debug quickly and so on. But obviously to do any kind of heavier lifting, you would want to be using the batch compute there. So we really see this as kind of a stepping stone between cloud infrastructure and HPC resources. And also for cases where a project may include users from all kinds of different skill levels, where not everybody is really comfortable using an HPC cluster. They can have the Renku project set up where with a click of a button, it's exactly the same as any other Renku session. They can be there to check the data or check the processing or whatever. So I think it's a useful kind of in-between for this kind of in-between stage in a lot of these projects. Yeah, go ahead. This is yes, I'm about to talk about this. Thank you for the question. So also related to this, what we've been working on, or what we have actually put into place, I think we showed the diagram already in the last users meeting a year ago, but at that time this was more of a conceptual thing. And in the meantime, we have actually put this into practice, where Renku or renkulab.io, actually our public instance, acts like a mediator for resources that live somewhere else that are not even under our control necessarily. So the way this works is that from the user's perspective, the same user gets exactly the same project setup as they would otherwise. They have an additional kind of resource pool to choose from. So in this case, it may come from AWS or it may come from Switch or Exascale or whatever. They choose that resource pool, and when they click launch, the session is actually instantiated on the remote infrastructure. This opens up a lot of really interesting possibilities where we can actually send compute sessions into protected networks where the session is not exposed to the outside world, because all that's needed essentially is this service-to-service communications with a firewall, but then all the session and the data exposure and everything happens inside the protected network. So that is one use case. Another use case is simply that you may already have a cloud subscription, and you may already be using cloud resources with billing and all this, where you don't want to have additional things basically being provisioned by Renku, but you want to just use the resources you have. It may also have to do with data locality. If you have data already stored in a cloud somewhere, you want the compute to come to the same place. So there's a lot of possible use cases here. We have implemented now this mode of this working with a cluster on AWS. So we know that this is now becoming more and more feasible. There's a lot of sort of networking issues to resolve under the hood, but so far it's been a promising direction. So yes, we can plug in external clouds. The requirement there for this mode is really that there's a Kubernetes layer on the other side. And then what happens is that the admins of that Kubernetes cluster have to deploy a few Renku services that then talk to the main Renku instance. And that's essentially it. But yeah, I'm happy to chat about that more later on if needed. And finally, one thing we're really excited about too is lots of nice improvements to resource pool management. We've had a lot of various groups using Renku in different ways. So we have a lot of courses, for example, running on Renku Lab, where we have research groups. And in all these cases, it's necessary to manage the members of these groups so they get access to the right resources. For example, if we expose our GPU node pool to a class, we want to make sure that it's only accessible by people that actually should be accessing it and so on. And this has added a lot of overhead on both ends. So it's added a lot of overhead on our side because we have to add users manually to resource pools, and it's added overhead to the instructors because they have to shuffle, send us emails and so on. So it just hasn't been a very good setup for anyone. In addition, we haven't had a functionality in place to really control for usage and for compute spend on these more expensive resources. And this is another thing that's been implemented now. So we have now a way of controlling for weekly or monthly, or it's actually configurable what the cadence is, but we can configure resource limits on whatever resource pool we want. So that way, if you have a subscription with us, we can set a budget cap upfront, and therefore, so you know that you won't, your students or your members of your research group won't exceed it without any kind of additional authorization. And also, the resource pools have been linked to groups and I believe projects. Also, thanks Salim for working on this feature. And that's a really nice one because now essentially you can have a group. We link the group to a resource pool. This is an admin action that has to happen. But then basically anybody you add to that group will be able to also access the resource pool. So that's, I think it's going to streamline a lot of these processes for everybody. Right, so we're at the roadmap. One thing we're really excited about, this connects to the whole kind of the whole data science workflow that we have in mind, now being extended with jobs that we were talking about a second ago. What's the natural extension of that is to be able to also seamlessly run apps inside Renku. Up to this point, apps have been possible, so you could configure any kind of session to function as an app, but it means that each user has to spin up their own session. They have to wait for it to come online. It consumes a lot of resources and so on. Instead, with apps, they're really meant to be more lightweight, more responsive. They automatically scale down to 0 and they come back up when somebody requests it. So if you have a dashboard or even like a Gradio app with serving an API and so on, that will be something that you'll be able to just have as one of your project assets and deploy alongside all of your other things. So the flow is kind of like you develop something interactively, you, for example, train a model with your jobs, and then you can expose the model inference or model results or showcase the results of your project through an app. And that is actually 75% already done, so we hope to have it released in the summer. Another big topic for us, because we're involved in a lot of projects through our SDSC health and biomedical vertical, is what we can do about research computing and data exploration in trusted research environments. So here we're also exploring ways how Renku can be deployed in those environments, what the boundaries are, what the use cases are, and so on. And that is something that we are actively working on, and we hope to have some early demonstrations of this together with Switch and other partners later on this year. With additional kind of data science features like the jobs and apps, we also realize that, and for a lot of kind of domain-specific applications, we realize that an important asset that we currently do not have exposed as a primary asset in projects is this idea of a model, of a trained model that you can share, that you can deploy, that you can run inference against. So that is something that we also want to include as a part of supporting our various vertical projects at the SDSC, like for climate, for example. It's very important to have the ability to build models, but also share them flexibly and be able to let other people use them. So that's something that we're looking into. And again, this will feed really nicely into all the kind of underlying features that we're currently building up with the additional functionality that apps and jobs bring. And finally, and this will be the topic of the last part of today, is what to do with collaborative data science ML projects in the era of AI agents. We have a couple initiatives at the Swiss Data Science Center that are going on, and the Renku team and the engineering team are parts of that. So we are looking into what we can actually offer as a hosted infrastructure to support people using agents in their research workflows. What does this mean? What are the safety requirements? What are the workflows? What are the use cases, et cetera? So that's something that we're really actively looking into, and we'll show a bit of a preview of that towards the end of the session, even though nobody really said that they're interested in Agentic. They're not here because of the Agentic workflows, but maybe you'll find it interesting in the end anyway. So we have a good 10 minutes for questions, if there are any. Happy to answer those now before we take a break, and then it's time for lightning talks, I think.
Yes.